What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today we are reviewing this watch from Tandorio. So this is their Willard Homage. Now this was sent out to the channel, does not have to go back, but that's not going to change my opinion. So let's dive in, no pun intended, and take a look at this watch in a little bit more detail. So starting off with the size, I actually measured this one at 43.5mm. That goes up to 47.8 including the crown. We have a 41.3mm diameter bezel. It's 13.5mm thick, 20mm lug width. It's 46.7 lug to lug. On the bracelet sized up for me, it weighs 141 gram. Full 361L all the way throughout. A sapphire crystal, screw down crown, screw down case back, 200 meters of water resistance, but you guys know, just take that with a pinch of salt. 120 click unidirectional bezel with a ceramic insert and a little lume pip, and you know, that's your lot. So let's do a dive and take a look. So this one is a little bit different to the other watch I have similar to this. The review for that will be dropping pretty soon. But anyway, this one, you know, approaches a little bit differently. So like I mentioned, we've got that little lume pip on a triangle at the 12. And then we've got little circles just about all the way around, apart from every 10-minute where you get some numerals, and then every 5 where you get some little batons, which, you know, is great for timing, you know, dives. I mean, I really wouldn't, like I said, trust this on a proper deep dive. You know, maybe just a shallow snorkel, I think it might just, you know, be okay. But a deep dive, yeah, probably not. I do quite like the shade of green that they chose as well. It's a little bit pale, but you know, it's still quite a nice hue. So going in, you can actually see we have a really large green rehaut. Some people said in the unboxing that that was a little bit too big, and you know what, looking at it, I actually would tend to agree. I think it is a little bit large. I think they should have probably gone with just a silver brushed one or something like that. So I think the green and the green and the green is just a little bit too much. Moving in, you can see we have a printed white minute track and some applied indices. So we have square ones everywhere apart from at the 6 and 9 where we have a broader, sort of thicker baton, and then the sort of book-esque style one at the 12 o'clock. Little bordered date window at the 3. So underneath the 12 we have the Tandorio logo and the branding. I think a little bit of feedback here, they should ditch the Tandorio and just keep the logo, because a lot of people did complain about the brand name in the unboxing, and you know what, I do tend to agree. Above the 6 o'clock you can see we have automatic, and then 200 meter in red, and it says divers in white, and then right at the bottom, Japan movement. To the dial you can see it is a green sunburst, and I actually quite like it. I think it sort of pairs surprisingly well with the rest of you know, the white. Well, it's like an off-white, it's got like a bit of a green hue to the indices, and the same with the hands as well, they've got a bit of a green hue. So we have these sort of Willard style hands, which are basically sort of flat top fence posts or batons, but they've got like a bit of a rounded edge too. It's a little bit of an unusual one. And then we've got the little traffic light seconds hand as well, which is just so cool, and it's got also a little tiny lume dot at the end. So we're moving on to the side profile. You can see we have a brushed top surface and then a high polished edge there, and you can see we've got a little bit of a line just to differentiate between the brushing and the high polish. You can also see we have that really nice coin edge bezel, which is very, very cool, and actually really easy to use. I actually forgot to do the bezel action, so I'll squeeze that in now. And you know what, it's really good. The grip is actually better than the other watch that I've tested like this. Everything lines up as it should as well. No back play once it's locked into place, but there is a little bit of play in between clicks. Everything lines up as it should, and it's a really nice solid feeling, good well defined clicks. It's definitely a strong bezel, so very, very impressive. So moving back on now to this side, you can see same story, high polish, a bit of brushing, bit more brushing here on the lug, and then we've got a unsigned crown which is screwed down. And you know, it's nice. Again, more information on that in a little bit. So flipping around to the case back, you can see it is pretty much, well, it's not sterile, but there's no branding or anything on it. We do have some high polish and then some sort of sand bead blasted effect with the specifications around the border, and that's pretty much it, and then the rest of it is all brushed. So now we're going to talk movement, and as this watch says Japan movement on the dial, that's actually not correct. This is using a Chinese made PT 5000, which, if you know your movements, it is a clone of the Solita, which is a clone of an ETA. So there is that. So this movement is a high beat, 4 Hz, 28,800 beats per hour. It has 25 joules, hacking, auto and manual winding, negative to plus 12 seconds per day, which is very impressive, but the power reserve does fall short at 38 hours, so that's probably its Achilles heel, is the power reserve. It's not the most impressive. So how does this movement feel? Well, comparing it to the NH35, it's actually really good. So we've got this screw down crown here, which is actually not too bad to use. It's just big enough to get a decent purchase on. Good amount of grip on it as well. So one pull out and you should be able to do your date. Have I actually pulled it out enough? I don't think I have. There we go. That's 2 pulls. You can actually see I've pulled it out too far. But there we go. So that is 2. Winding feels, you know, absolutely fine. Adjusting the time is absolutely fine as well. It's not quite as well polished as an NH35, this one. I noticed that with the other one as well. It's not quite as smooth as an NH35, but it does feel nice. So one pop back in now, and I should be able to adjust the date if I'm doing it right. No, I was doing it the wrong way. So there you go, quick set date as well. Really easy to use, and everything works as it should. So I've got no issues or complaints with the movement really, apart from it's not, you know, made in Japan. But I think what they actually do here, why it says Japan movement, is because they use the same dial for both the NH35 model and the PT model. So that's probably why, you know, it probably just cuts down costs. Obviously, they've not got to manufacture 2 different dials, one that says Japan, one that says Chinese. So that's why they probably use, you know, one dial for both. But that is quite reassuring, actually, that a PT 5000 will actually fit on the same dial as an NH35. As far as I'm aware, that's why they do it. I don't actually know, so don't take that as sort of the definitive truth. I could just be wrong, you know, based on a bit of guesswork, let's just say. So now we're going to move on to the bracelet. And to the bracelet, it's a little bit plain, a little bit, you know, uninteresting, but it's decent enough. The finishing is okay. It's, you know, it's not the best I've ever seen, but it's all right. We've got a female end link, which is really nice. It definitely helps reduce the overall size of the watch. But yeah, it's not a bad bracelet. We do have solid links, which is always nice to see. Only push pins holding it together though, so it's definitely not one of the more premium bracelets. We do have solid end links though, which is always nice to see. Clasp is just pressed, so nothing really special there. It's functional, it gets the job done, and it just works. So then we go here, couple of micro adjusts on the side. Unsigned, so I'm thinking this is just one of those AliExpress ones that are quite affordable to purchase. I think that's what that probably is, unless it just comes as part of the bracelet, which is, you know, one of the more affordable offerings, obviously, because there's no milled clasp or anything like that. But yeah, the articulation is solid. You know, there's no real roughness to it. It's just the finishing isn't that great, and of course, there's no milled clasp. But when you actually see the price point, you might be thinking, well, you know, that's understandable. And, well, there it is. So here it is on wrist. And you know what? It's not as big as I thought it were going to be. I thought, you know, with it having a near on 44mm diameter, it would absolutely swamp my little wrist. But do you know what? It really doesn't, and that just goes to show you how good Seiko is at, you know, making big watches wear small. And I think a lot of that is down to, you know, the lug to lug being as small as it is. It's only 46.7, so that's probably why it wears. So you can see it just doesn't quite reach the end, and it just sort of reaches the end there. So it does fit really nicely. This one isn't the most comfortable. It's not as comfortable as the other one, which, you know, more in a later video. And I think a lot of that is to do with the, you know, the the bracelet. I mean, it's just a standard bracelet, but for some reason it just doesn't wear quite as nice as some of the other ones I've had of this style. So I don't really know why that is, unfortunately, but it's just not quite as comfortable. Profile is nice though. You can see we have minimal gap, does hug pretty well, even though, you know, there's no downturn to the lugs. You can see, I mean, obviously we do get a little bit of a gap under the crown guard, but yeah, it wears nice, it fits surprisingly well. It's just, yeah, I don't know, it's just not quite as comfortable for some reason, and I just can't really explain it. It's a bit of a strange one, bit of a puzzler. And to the verdict. So this watch is currently on sale for £88.99. And you know what? I think that's actually quite fair. I mean, of course, you know, it's not perfect. You know, it does have a few little issues. You know, it's not the most comfortable. The loom, as you've seen in the intro video, is not very good. It's not strong loom at all, so it definitely does lose a little bit there. But I think for the rest of it, it makes up for that somewhat. You know, I mean, the dial looks really really good. I'm not seeing any noticeable issues with it at all. You know, there's no horrible finishing on it, and it's all really clean and well done. The bezel is surprisingly good too. It's solid, robust, well-defined clicks, and it feels fantastic. The finishing isn't quite as good as on some other watches at this price point, but it's not bad. Again, you know, the same for the finishing on the bracelet. So it does lose out in some areas, but it's definitely not a disaster. It's actually a really good little watch. 89 quid for a PT 5000, I think that is very, very fair. It's actually one of the cheaper watches to feature this movement in. So do you know what? I think you're getting a lot of value for your money actually here. The only real downside, like I said, the loom, the bracelet being a little bit thingy, and just the comfort. But again, I think a lot of that is just this bracelet. But anyway, you can always swap out this quite easily. You know, there's plenty of aftermarket stuff out there. But yeah, if you just ignore the bracelet and just focus on the watch, I think it's very well done. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.